All right, looks like we are live on our side. I don't know if we're live on everyone else's side. We'll let them come on in. We're joined here by Josh Pierce. This is a very special call for a lot of reasons, honestly. One, Josh has turned into an incredible land investor. I think he's been in the business for less than 2 years, I believe. I could be slightly wrong. Fitness coach in a previous life. Actually came our way from a friend that we have named Nick Comedina. Which is like kind of a cool full circle. I've known Nick for a long time, back when I was 23 living in San Diego. So it was a really cool full circle. And yeah, man, you've just taken off. You really ran with this concept, and I'm sure you put some of your own spin on this stuff, but it's really cool to see where you're at. I know you're inspiration to a lot of people inside the group. So Josh, happy to have you here, man.
Oh man, it's incredible to be here. I appreciate it, and excited to jam and kind of share what's been working for me, what the road to get here has looked like, which has been an interesting ride, but learned a lot, and we're picking up steam.
Dude, yeah, it's bumpy. It's super bumpy. And the thing is, I'm sure as you can attest to, the numbers have gotten bigger, but as a percentage, let's just say always 10% in your business shit is going wrong. That percentage never changes. The problems just get way bigger.
Yeah.
And I think people think, oh, I don't suffer from that stuff, or if you're in it long enough, it's always hard. You're always getting kicked in the face. You just get more resilient, honestly. And I will say too, you shared something very interesting that I want to touch on. There's a real price to admission in this business when we're first starting. So look, it's hard no matter what forever. It's always going to be hard. That's okay. But like the first 6 to 12 months in this business really suck. And that's kind of the price to admission. So I'm just going to share something that I think is kind of an interesting stat. So you started November 2023. So we're not even 2 years. We're like a year and a third or something like that. Yeah. So obviously you started at $0. You made your first $1 4 months later, March of 2024. Then had your first six-figure deal profits in February, and I've exceeded 100K each of these last few months, and you're growing. Looks like you'll get to 200K gross profit per month here pretty shortly. But there's just like a nasty 6 to 12 month period where you're putting all this work in. You made $1 in 4 months. Like, dude, that sucks. It's not very exciting, but man, if you can make it past that, it's pretty incredible what can happen. So before we talk about that, before we talk about numbers, just tell people, who are you? I know you're in Texas. You've run other businesses before. Give us like the 20,000 foot view.
Oh man. Well, yeah. So I think the easy path to go down with this is, I'm a land investor. I've been doing this for however many years. And it's like, one of the things that I've really been growing through lately is like letting go of this identity of like, I am whatever I do to put food on my table. Like, I was just in Costa Rica for 2 weeks or 10 days last week. And one of my biggest takeaways was like, I don't want my business to be my life. Right. So I do land investing, and I'm just constantly just trying to learn and be a student in life, and just trying to get better and challenge myself in a lot of different ways. This isn't my first career. It's not my second. It's my third. I'm 36. I find that I've got about.
You look like you're 26. Sorry to cut you off. That's insane. I don't know. You got the Benjamin Button effect going on.
There we go. It's the Austin effect. I'm drinking out of the fountain of youth over here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But no, I feel like I've got like a 5-year expiration date on any career venture I get into. That's kind of the pattern so far, which has taught me a lot about impermanence and, not being super attached to the outcome. This being the second business that I have started and tinkered with, the first one being the fitness coaching business online, which I did for 5 years. Prior to this, I hit burnout and it just didn't feel like it was worth the squeeze. I felt like there was something bigger for me, higher ticket widget, that kind of thing. And came into this November of 2023. And I knew I wanted to get into real estate. And I hit up a good friend of mine who was wholesaling houses with a lot of success for 8, almost 10 years. And he's like, man, I got to tell you, if I were to start over right now, I would do land. And I was like, man, what do you mean? I never heard of this. And I put my nose down and started sniffing around for someone who could show me the way. And that was how I came across you. But coming in, not being my first business, being my second, I came in with a little bit of wisdom. I had kind of known, I learned the hard way before. Hormozy says your first business gets you good and your second business gets you rich. I didn't make money in my first business. I made mistakes and I learned a lot. So I was able to come in here and I saw the proof of concept. I talked to guys like Ben Gallant and Ari when I was skeptical on the outside, and I was like, "This is the real deal." And I saw the wins in the Discord and everything, and I saw proof of concept to know, like, all right, this is it. This is what's going to make me a millionaire. So I decided that, jumped in, and I mean, I imagine you when I jumped in and I had these ambitious goals, you're probably like, "Who the frick is this guy? Like coming in, he's never done a land deal, and he's talking big numbers, talking about hiring." But that's how I started. I mean, I just chose to play the game that way.
Yeah. Well, dude, the funny thing is that doesn't even turn me off remotely when people have big goals. And the irony is, bro, so few people do. So few people. I mean, I could count the number of people that join LIA, that start off crystal clear on what they want, and what they're clear on is big. Bro, it's probably half a dozen people. And if I look back at those half a dozen people, without fail, they've all hit those numbers or gotten pretty damn close. Maybe it took a little longer, but they did end up getting there. Something to be said about that. If you're a LIA member, it's like, ask yourself, how big are your goals right now? And do you even know what your goals are? You also, one thing that I have to call out, dude, in the beginning, you were maniacal. Like, from what I remember, you were on every single coaching call. You were asking a litany of questions. Nothing was slipping under the cracks. And there's something to that as well. One thing that I totally just screwed up on this call that I have to rectify right now, guys, we're running a free mastermind in Scottsdale, Arizona. Maybe we'll be so lucky to have Josh join us there. I don't know. June 5th and 6th, it's free, 50 people, one day at the Land Insights office. We got a nice event space there. And then one day at the Land House, which I'm sure you guys have probably heard about. Some debauchery. We'll have some drinks and some barbecue and some hangouts. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. If you guys want to RSVP, it's free. I don't know if we're at 50 yet. First come, first serve. There it is right there. Josh, are you going to come out, or are you too busy, man? Too busy?
I don't know yet. I want to try and make it work. I saw the stuff surface yesterday and I had immediate FOMO. So I was like, man, I want to make this work. It'd be great. I've been wanting to get down there since the Land House started and since y'all got an office and everything. So yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah. Did you entertain the idea of moving in there? Or are you settled down? Do you have a wife?
No, I'm settled. I've got a fiance and 2 pups. There, that wouldn't fly. That's too long of a vacation for a damn near married man.
Yeah. Dude, so okay, let's rewind the clock real quick. I just want to know, you were fitness coaching. It was working, but what was like what were you yearning for? Was it just more money or more impact, or what was it?
I don't know why my camera's all blurry right now. What the heck? Anyways, so for me, it was more money. Well, I was doing that for about 5 years and I just kind of got burnt out doing that work. But ultimately I got really good at sales and really good at operations and building a business, to where I wasn't doing the coaching anymore. I had assistants doing that and I was playing the business game. I was an operator and tinkering like that. And I had this realization of like, oh man, like this whole business thing is a lot of fun, but if I knew I was going to play this game 5 years ago when I started, this wouldn't have been the widget that I build. Like I would build a different widget, sell something different. So I wanted something where the juice was more worth the squeeze. I was pulling teeth on hour-long sales calls to get a $2,000 paid in full, where I could maybe take 30% of that. And my first land deal was a $31,000 rip with no money out of pocket. So it was like, yeah, I knew there was something more out there, and I had to let go of that so that I could make space for what ultimately became this.
Yeah, dude, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you or maybe with anyone else. I don't like talking about it much, but I had a very similar path. I mean, I had a 2.5-3 year stint of being a fitness coach when I was in San Diego. That started with opening like a little in-person gym studio right by SDSU. I used to go and pass out flyers. We get people to come down. I think I was charging $60 per hour per session, and I was doing maybe 2 sessions a day. So it wasn't necessarily killing it, but in tandem with that, I started doing online coaching. And it was just like a similar conclusion that I came to. I didn't really know it at the time, but I was like, yeah, I got this is a lot of work and the reward is just minimal. And I also felt like I was just shouting into the void because everyone was doing it. Everyone was in good shape. Like, what am I really providing here? I wanted to feel like uniquely gifted at something. I wanted to find like my dojo where I was just like the best or close to it. And so I ended up falling into land shortly after. But what's funny is I realized, bro, it's like, I don't care if you're doing like a landscaping business, you're selling lemonade, fitness coaching, land. All business is almost all equally as difficult, I found. Like, no matter the model, like there's a similar level of friction and challenge and pain that you have to go through no matter what. So like just choose a better vehicle, just a better business model. And it's funny going through and building Land Insights now. I was actually literally just thinking about this morning. I was like, man, I would never build another business again that does not have a recurring revenue model. Like you learn things along the way that make these opportunities even better, but it's the same amount of work across the board. Would you say you've worked any harder in the land business than your fitness coaching business, or is it about equal?
No, it's equal. It's equal. I find myself still tinkering the same and managing people the same and all of that. But what blows my mind, for anybody that's on the fence about land, by the way, is I was pulling teeth for an hour on these sales calls to get like maybe I need to think about it. I got to talk to my husband, all of that. Whereas now, I mean, we're doing, our average deal size is what, 25,000 or whatever. And I mean, it's like 2 12-minute phone calls and maybe a little bit of follow-up. Like it's like, it's never been easier, so that's wild to me.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, check this out. And I love always calling out and talking about real-time stats for my business. So, this just came in 7:28 a.m. my time. So about an hour ago. So it's a double close. We locked it up at $10,000. Dispo and easy $40,000. We've got until September on the contract, $500 earnest money. My team set the contract at 7:27 a.m. We got it signed 1 minute later. This lead came in April 16th in our business. We had, it looks like about 8 outbound calls, maybe 10 outbound calls, but most of them didn't get connected. So they were all outbound voicemails. We had one call that was 14 minutes and 59 seconds, an additional call that was 15 minutes and 43 seconds. So 30 minutes, all things considered. Or, I mean, net after everything, 25 grand in spread, something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, find me a business where you can talk to someone for 30 minutes and make $25,000. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what's cool is this model is pretty freaking easy to delegate. I find like in the coaching business, especially for LIA, even, it's really hard to pass off the fulfillment to someone that's of the same quality as you, or same thing on the sales. These prospects don't care if they're talking to me or Eva or someone on my team, and probably the same in your business. So it's just it's a damn good model, man. Yeah. Just remind me, when you started in 2023 at the end of the year, what was the goal? I know you had goals, but can you remind me what those goals were?
When I started, I wanted to do 500K my first year.
Okay.
And I fell short of that. I was like right around 400K. I'm of this belief of like, set this ridiculously high goal and then just give it your freaking all. And like what do they say? Shoot for the moon. And if you fall short, you land among the stars kind of thing. So it's like that. So that's what I did there.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. So, I mean, in any business, make 400K your first year is bonkers. So let's dissect that. 400K your first 12 months. What were you doing? Just mail, right? Following the LIA model. But what were you working on? Anything outside the norm, or was it like I just kind of followed the process cookie cutter style?
So I followed the LIA model like to a T. I came in, I started sending out blind offers, and I scaled that. I scaled the volume there probably faster than what was recommended, just because I knew I wanted to shortcut the learning curve. I wanted to get past that the first few months of like, we're waiting for the first call, the second call. So I scaled that pretty quick. I think I did 4,000, 5,000 my first 3 months. I did jump to 11,000 my next 3 months, jumped to, probably 15 to 20,000, and rid the rest of the year out at around 20,000 until about Thanksgiving.
Wow.
So my goal was to get to 20,000 as quickly as practical.
Yeah. Okay. And were you, this is the age old dilemma, I guess I'll call it. You see, it's like, and this is the only potential downfall of goals, I feel like, as it relates to marketing. I think it's good to have aspirations, but a lot of times folks will grow their marketing even if it hasn't proven itself. were you growing based off of successful marketing campaigns, or were you just maniacally focused on I have to get a 20,000, regardless of how the previous ones have been performing?
That's a great question. Because there's such a time delay on the campaigns I was sending, and then like what I experienced today, it was more so based on I knew I wanted to get to that volume, but also it was it was managing cash, and I had to make decisions based on the cash I had at the time and stuff like that too. So probably a fusion of both, but it wasn't like I send mail out and see success, so then I double down on that, because that that maybe is 6 to 12 week process, and I didn't want to be sitting around waiting on that.
Yeah. Did you take some pretty heavy licks on some of those campaigns, or were you pretty consistent?
Oh, dude, yeah. I hit I always try outsmarting the system. So I was like, oh, you know what? I don't see anybody doing Arkansas, and I locked up some deals in Arkansas, and they nothing sold. They all expired, right? It was double closes. I got cute and did maybe 10, 12,000 range offers, and got like no calls back. Like, I don't know what I did wrong with them, but they just completely botched. I decided I was going to go places that I wasn't seeing people talk about. I was like, oh, I'm gonna outsmart this, and I found out that there's probably a reason see people talking about those. So I learned a lot the hard way. A lot of. I also found myself deviating from the like I'm telling you, like I followed the model to a T, and every time I got cute and tried to outsmart it, I'm like, you know what? That second page of the blind offer with the purchase agreement, these guys must think I'm such a dick, like assuming they're going to do the deal. Let's take that purchase agreement off. Let's send more mail instead. I watched my numbers go down. I kept straying off the path, thinking I was getting cute. And then I'd wander back onto the path with my tail between my legs. Like, all right, I need to retrace my footsteps and go back to what was working, because my numbers went down.
Bro, that's music to my ears, man. That's it. That's it.
For real.
And funny is it's easy to say it, but it's so hard for people to do it. And I understand. Like, I think that there's a lot of avoid what the herd is doing, or people just kind of put their own bias on things. Like, I wouldn't want to get a blind offer with a purchase agreement. Well, the data tells us it works better. And I always love pulling out this stats rather. From what I've seen, I guess I'm sure there's people that have better numbers than this, but from what I've seen, for whatever reason, I can't necessarily explain it. Blind offers, if you're good, 10 to 12x. If you're a freak like Anthony Reese, it could be 20, 25x, something absurd like that. But for most people, 10 to 12x on your money over, call it a year, really, it's pretty fair. Range offers, 5 to 7. I don't know why. Like, the ROAS just kind of nosedives for whatever reason. And then neutrals, dude, it's less than range. And I really couldn't tell you why. It's pretty shocking. And really, any massive variations to that blind offer, not copy per se, but like the blueprint of it, it just seems to nosedive. And much like what you said, dude, my worst campaigns have always come when I try to pull a 180. Like, I did this last year, this pretty big like AI postcard campaign. It was like 25,000 mailers or something pretty huge like that, divvied up with these like 6 different AI generated designs with like cool like AI photos of me and horses and things like that. Oh my God, I got just destroyed. It was horrible. I think after a year we made our money back, but even that's questionable. There's a method to the madness, and it just freaking works, to be honest. It works really damn well. In that first year, actually, let me back up, because people are going to want to know this question. And I'm sure it's a variation. People inside of LIA, we always talk about 4 strategies to kind of fracture and break down our markets: polygon, countywide acreage ranges, zip codes, subdivisions. Out of those 4, was there one that you were mainly focusing on that most of your marketing comprised of?
Yeah, I would say, I went for counties, like just full on counties initially. I never did the subdivision game. I don't know. I saw the volume that I was working on getting to.
Yep.
And I was like, that feels like a lot of subdivisions, a lot of sniping. So I never did that game. I know there's a lot of money to be made in it. I just think I didn't have the patience for it. So I did the full counties. And then as I outsourced like pricing markets and stuff like that, I was like, all right, cool. Now that this is off my plate, we can do zip codes. So now we do zip codes. I mean, we select by counties, but we price by zip codes. And of course, as we've scaled our marketing volume to where we are now, it's like our parameters of like what makes a good market has completely evolved from when I was doing 10,000 mailers a month. Like you could pick the cream of the crop all the time. And now it's like, where do we go next? What bag do we dig into now?
Yeah. You can't be quite as selective once you get past, call it 20,000 mailers a month.
Yeah.
The parameters widen a little bit. In that first year, did you have anyone on the team, or did you do 400K by yourself?
Gosh, no. You know what? So I said I didn't make my first dollar for the first 5 months. But I think I was 6 weeks into it when I hired my first VA. So I hired a VA, paid her cash out of my pocket, the Philippines, and I did mail prep one time. I cleaned one list, and I was like, I'm never doing this again. I need to solve this problem right now. So I hired someone, and the conversation I had with her was hilarious. She's still with me today. And I was like, look, here's the thing is we're just getting going. It's not my first business. But we're just getting going with this one. And I know one thing that I'd like to have you do. I have one SOP for you right now, but I'd like you for about 20 hours a week. And I'd like to build that up to about 40 hours a week in 90 days. How I envision this going is I'm just going to create processes. And as I create them, I'll pass them to you and we'll build your plate as we go. If you're down for that, we'd love to have you. And she just welcomed it with open arms. And she's like, yes, anything. I see the vision and I want to be here for it. And now she's my marketing coordinator. She does all of our market selection. She does everything. I don't have to think about marketing.
That's super cool. Out of curiosity, how much were you paying her in the beginning, and where did you find her?
Online jobs. Online jobs is where I find most of my VAs. All my VAs, I love it. I've always had great success with it. And I started out paying her, it was like $4 an hour, and now she's making around $7 an hour. And like I asked her in the very first conversation, like, what's your dream? Like, what would you like to be making? And that became the goal. It's like, let's work you toward that then. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing that I want to share this because I see a lot of people kind of abusing this. Mm-hmm. What I shared with her on that very first call was like, hey, look, when I make a hire, like I'm bringing you into my family. Like this isn't like a lot of those experiences you probably had. Like when I make a hire, like I don't make a lot of hires. I want to keep you. So if I bring you in, it's with a plan for the future. Let's do this. So like I treat them like family. Like I treat my VAs just like I would treat, an executive assistant that lived down the street from me. Like, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people abuse that, and it actually rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, no, dude, it rubs me the wrong way as well, and it net leads to terrible results.
Yeah.
Like I quickly learned, okay, the most vicious thing in our business was turnover, and we never had like horrific turnover. I think that you and I probably think about it similarly. Like the culture of our company and taking care of our people has always been, even beyond servicing customers for me, like taking care of the people I work with actually is even above that, in my opinion. Like that to me is it's sacred, because I know I can't do any of this stuff without a team that's happy and engaged and loving what they're doing. And if they're doing that, customers will be treated very well. But the inverse is not true. You can have very happy customers and a horrible team that hates your guts, But dude, one of the things in the beginning, like we all go through the hiring school, hard knocks, I would hire with so much urgency. I was just so quick to bring people in, and then turnover 3 months, 6 months later. Now we have, like in our land business, literally no turnover. I think the last time we lost someone was over a year ago. So we might lose one person every 16, 18 months. So it's gotten pretty damn good, which for, overseas talent is a pretty good number. I definitely want to talk about how you run your team. I know it's an area that you put a lot of focus on. And I mean, to be honest, I tell people, like in the beginning, your first 12 to 24 months in this business, market selection, acquisitions, like get really good at that. That's what's going to take you to the next level. And then beyond that, it's people, in my opinion. Like there's a lot of different ways to run this business, but if you want a higher volume flipping business, it's just a people game. And so, yeah, happy team, a good team is everything. And I made a video about this recently. I don't say this to boast by any means, because it's not, it's not like that. But in my land business, the team that I have there has allowed me to experiment and start other businesses. And so it's like, it's given a lot of meaning to my life, because ultimately I don't think I'm a one business kind of guy. Like I need the engagement of building things. I just love it so much. But at this point, our business continues to grow, and it's probably a 5 to 6 hour a week commitment for me. Now, when I'm there, I'm so locked in. I'm all the way there with them. But yeah, the power of having a good team, man. Let's talk about where you're at today. 23K mailers a month. You're doing texting.
Yeah.
50,000 texts a month.
50,000 texts. Yep.
50,000 a month. Before we crack into that and where you're at today, what's the team look like? How many people you've got on staff?
We got 9 on my team right now.
Okay, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
All overseas?
No. Oh gosh, no. I've got US based closers.
Okay.
So I'll kind of give a quick overview of what my team looks like front to back. So I've got Kath. She's my campaign marketing coordinator. She's the first hire that I had, and then we have a full-time scrubber under her as well. So he's really cleaning up our sheets to make sure that we are only mailing and marketing to 100% qualified properties. And then I have Maureen, who is my main assistant, like number 2, kind of like take care of this kind of thing, loose ends assistant. I have a comper full time. I have 2 closers, and I have a dispo coordinator. Like TC dispo coordinator kind of thing. She manages all my inventory, gets everything sold. Like she does everything but signs closing documents.
Okay.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, do you still review all the closing documents, or does she help with that?
No, I still review them all. Basically, the biggest thing is like settlement statements. I'm looking at those. She floats them by me like, hey, just double check this. But actually, so she's in Honduras, and she came over from Igor's team when Igor was downsizing his team. And she had been she's actually been in land for twice as long as I have. So yeah, she's great. Like, I mean, she can run the company someday. Like she's that good. So I recently gave her a corporate resolutions so that she can sign listing agreements and offers and addendums and all of that. She can do everything in my business except for banking, change company formation documents and sign literally closing documents. That's it. So I'm working her towards where she's got more and more of the like operations type stuff.
Yeah, dude, for me in the business, that's the one thing I haven't given up is banking. And then obviously I run 2 big team meetings per week. But one of the biggest changes with my relationship to the business is when I had to stop reviewing closing statements and HUDs. And oh man, I was so happy to have that off my plate. But it took literally like, I would say, a year and a half of training, and now they run laps around me. I mean, they know these things in and out, and it's like literally has changed my life. There's just some things in the business that you just hate, and that was always one that I absolutely detested. For the US closers, where did you find these people?
Let's see. Both of them on Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah, both of them on Indeed, and they're great. So, I've always went with US based closers. I came from, like with the fitness stuff. Like I came from high ticket closing space and everything. So I've always seen that as the highest revenue producing activity in my business. So it was, essentially the last role that I passed off. I held on to it as long as I could, because I wanted to maintain control there. And then when I was ready to let it go, I knew that I wanted US based closers on the phone, just because knowing the people I'm talking to and stuff like that. But yeah, we do Indeed. We set it up as a sales funnel, a hiring funnel. And, we're very clear. We're looking, we're not looking for order takers. We're looking for closers, not someone who's just going to be there and go through the motions, with someone who's going to hunt and actually be a shark. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask you what the comp structure looks like?
Yeah, no, that's not a problem at all. So, and that's something that's evolved over time. So my first closer, we just paid 7% commissions, and then we'd pay an upfront a contract bonus out of their commission upfront, and then we'd pay the rest of 7% at closing. Now what we do is we pay, now that I've got full-time closers, we pay $2,000 salary a month. I pay $350 $350 as a contract bonus once we execute our side of the contract, regardless of if it's a deal that goes through or not. And then we pay 7% commissions when the deal closes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solid, man.
Yeah.
And they've worked out well for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, super cool.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. We've got an all-star guy here in America. He's in Texas. You might have met him at Ajay's event. His name is Jordan.
Oh yeah, I love him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Not only is he good at the job, and not only is he so focused on constantly getting better, he's just solid as a rock. Dude. That guy is reliable as all reliable. But what's crazy is he started as an intern. And that's been one of our funnels for hiring US-based people. Is we start them as interns, and then he's grown from there. Now he's got a full day salary and 10 points on deals, but then he gets a kicker on top of it. What's interesting though, I don't know what, maybe you haven't hired overseas closers, so it might not be a good comparison, but what's interesting, what I've seen is the real advantage has come on the bigger deals. That's where I've seen the most upside. On the standard flips, to be honest, they're pretty much in parity. But once you start getting into weird, complex, bigger deals, there seems to be a trust factor that's added there. But we've got an amazing gal out of Egypt named Eva. So time will tell. She's been with us for 6 months, and she's incredible. So you can find great talent on both sides. When did you add texting to the business? Was that recent?
Beginning of the year. So it was right around Christmas time. So we stopped mailing through the holidays, and that was when we were like, okay, we need to keep leads coming in during this time. So let's try this texting thing.
Okay.
And that's been a beast. I mean, I feel like we've been trying to wrangle this thing, since we started and kind of hone it. Man, I see what you say. I see what you're saying. When you're like, dude, it's like blind offers, man. It's a gravy train. And I'm like, but come on, like texting, dude, blind offers is gravy train compared to these leads. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah. That's what I always say. I mean, I think like texting done right, net dollars in, dollars out, you probably can't beat it, but it's hard to crack. And you need such a good acquisition flow because you get leads that are so crummy in comparison to mail. All right, let's talk about high level. What are the KPIs looking like in the business today? How many leads you guys get in a month? How many contracts you sending? Just kind of a rough idea.
Yeah. So I'm going to be fully transparent, man. I used to be really proud of my KPIs, and then we started texting, and it like diluted my KPIs. Like up until all of 2024, we had a 0.4% response rate on our letters, and we were closing 1 in every 6.5 leads that called in.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was fantastic. And then of course things slow down with mail, and we're seeing about half the efficiency and response rate and stuff like that. So it kind of throws a wrench in things. But now that with texting, I mean, we're getting about 300 leads a month total. We're having a hard time getting a bunch of them on the phone, it's a beast. It's absolutely a beast. So we're probably converting right now like 5% of the leads that we actually talk to. Like it's nothing to be proud of. The biggest thing I'm proud of right now is our dispo, because it's a reflection of we focused heavily on acquisitions last year, and dispo was always this lagging indicator. Like I watched my deals in inventory climb. I watched my gross pipeline profit climb. And now we're reaping the benefit of that because we've set it up solid. But we've always gotten about 25, about a deal for every 2,500 letters or so. I think that's gone down a little bit now. We're probably in the low 3s. And then when it comes to texts, I don't even have the numbers off the top of my head. Like we got to send, I think it's maybe 11, 12,000 texts to get a contract.
It's pretty good, man. No, that's good. That's good. Like a great month for us would be like 8,000 texts per contract.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's not terrible. Here's the thing though, is where I get frustrated. I'm like, as a systems guy, I look at my numbers and I'm like, okay, so maybe 11 is industry standard, but dude, we have like what's going on right now is we have so many holes in our pipeline where we're just bleeding opportunity. Like right now we've got a show rate problem for those text leads getting onto like their discovery call, and then like another show rate problem getting them onto their offer call. So it's like we're actually only getting fraction of our leads, into contracts where if we just fix the show rate problem, we're going to double that.
Yeah.
Without scaling our leads at all.
Yeah. It's one of the easiest levers to pull on. And in full candor, I still haven't necessarily cracked the code. Like the way I think about it, less about show rate, but I think about it holistically. So like if I generate 300 leads this month and the next 30 days out of those 300, how many do I get just to connect on any call, whether it's they show to a scheduled call or it's a follow-up call or whatever. And through text, dude, I think that we're probably at the high 60s, 68, 69%. And I'm like, if we can just get that to like 80s, we're going to do so many more deals. Like it's going to be insane. So that's like one of the easiest levers to focus on. Holistically, like let's say you got 300 leads this month. As you roll over into June, how many of those people you think you get on a call at some point in that 30-day period?
Oh, I would say 60%. Just ballparking. Yeah. And that's a very conservative ballpark. Like I'm not going to overinflate my numbers. That's like, I think what's happening. Here's the thing is where this is the whole thing inside of our company. We're playing with this process where we're actually booking them, where our tech team is actually trying to schedule them for a booked call. And we're scheduling them for a call tomorrow. Right. So what's happening is the people that get scheduled, they show up. Maybe let's say they show up 70% of the time, and maybe that's even a little bit optimistic. But what's happening is not 100% of the people that raise their hand and say they're interested in an offer are going to schedule. Some of them ghost when we pitch a call. Some of them never respond. So maybe 60% of them are getting scheduled, and the other 40% are falling by the wayside. And it's a crapshoot of if we'll ever talk to them again. And then of the 65% that made it through, or 60% that made it through, maybe we get on the phone with 65% of those. And just like that, we're only talking to 40% of the people that initially raised their hand. So it's like, that's the inconsistencies or the bottlenecks that keep me up at night.
Yeah.
Like if I could just fix that, like, man, we double the amount of opportunities we get to offer, and we don't even have to put another dollar into marketing spend.
Yep. I always think about fixing things from like a throughput standpoint, like the conversion from input to output, where everyone's so focused on the inputs. It's like, can we just get a more efficient handoff from that to here? And I think that's where like the easiest gains are to be had. And a lot of people don't think how you're thinking about that problem. So, kudos to you, especially for being less than 2 years in. That is I think the highest return on our energy in most cases. What are the biggest problems in the business right now? What are you guys hitting a wall on?
I mean, it's that. So right now we've got 2 closers and we got 300 leads coming in, and I don't have a setter right now. So the closers are talking to every lead. So they're talking to so many people who aren't actually really interested, or they're burning their energy. And then, 1 in every 15 calls, they're actually a serious seller who's really interested. And they've been stuck in this shit energy all day long. So it's like an efficiency problem on how do I get those initial people triaged through. That's the beast right now. Other than that, like you mentioned it earlier, the first 12 to 24 months is a lot of like systems and stuff. And then after that, it's people. And, that's what I see is the difference between, like what got me to 150K profit months is systems. What's going to get me from 150 to 250 and beyond is people. Like my time is only so much, and I've got to figure out, like, now what I'm doing is I want to keep my direct reports minimal, like 2 to 4, maybe 5, like my 2 main girls and then my 3 closers or 2 closers. So keeping them minimal and training them on how to lead the rest of the people. So it's like teaching my people how to create processes, teaching my people how to onboard people, teaching my people how to, do things. Cause like up until now, like it's always been me that's brought the solutions to the problems. And that's exhausting at this level.
Yeah. That's the highest form of delegation, I think, is when you're creating leaders, And I think with the right know-how, it can be done in a couple of years. It took me, honestly, I would say it really switched over in our land business at least last year. So it took me like 5 years to get there, but that is yeah, that's what we're all after, or what we should all be after.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's a people side of things, leadership, building the right team, and then just getting people to actually pick up the damn phone. I know you told Juan you've got an aspiration of getting to $10 million a year. Is that the big, hairy, scary, bold goal?
Oh man. um, it was, and like after spending 8 days deep in the jungle, and I came back and I'm like, I don't know that I want to play that game. Like, what's required to play that game is a lot.
Yep.
So here's what I do now is we're gunning for 2.5 million this year, and we're gonna keep trying to roll that up and double it. So the hope is we can do 2.5 this year and continue scaling to do 5 the following year. And 10 came. That's how 10 came. It's like, okay, we'll just double this 3 years in a row. But I've quickly realized, like, having 2 closers is great. It's easy. It's light.
Mm-hmm.
Having a team of 5 closers sounds like a nightmare. Like managing 1,500 leads coming in a month.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that's like, a lot of things would have to change. I'd have to delegate a lot. I'd have to have the right people in the right seats who can run the business, and I can maybe be the visionary, but hands off in all the other areas. But at the level that I'm running the business right now, like, absolutely not. I see kids in my future, next couple of years. So it's like, I want to set this thing up to be the thing that maybe puts $50K a month into my personal account with, very little of my time and energy every month. Like, that's more of the vision that I have at this point.
Yeah. I think honestly, a lot of people don't realize it, but that's probably what they would be happiest with, to be honest. Was there some plants ingested in the jungle of Costa Rica to give you these insights?
Yeah, man. I did my first ayahuasca retreat, and
I had a feeling.
Dude, I came back and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been playing the wrong game. I'm like, I've been putting it all into my business, and I've been doing it backwards. And I need to put it all into my life and let business be this small piece of my life. And yeah, it was like this huge revelation. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm going to win whatever game I play. I just need to make sure I'm playing the right game.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
Dude, I think the one of the big changes that happened for me, and it wasn't even like deliberate or conscious at the time, but I used to be the same way. Look, I think it's still important to have goals. I think goals are exciting, but I've become way less focused on them in the last couple of years because, dude, I used to have like similar goals. Like, yeah, we're going to get to $10 million a year in our land business or whatever it was. And I would find that it would make me just make decisions that, like, I don't know, I was like forcing things too much and trying to push this boulder up this hill, and it's exhausting. And then, like, the aspiration of getting to whatever the number was, like, I mean, it's not that exciting. It's exciting and it's cool, but once you're already making money, it's like, it's not that exciting. Like, if you do 2.5 million this year, I don't think you're going to be kicking yourself and be like, shit, I'd be 4 times as happy if I did 10 million, And so I was like, dude, I think that the way that I really win is obviously just doing this for a long time. And so I just like made a switch where like goals were kind of on the back burner, and it sounds so corny, but I'm like, I just want to do things in the business that actually give me energy and are joyful to me, that are really fun for me. And that's all I work on now. And the irony is, I think we'll end up getting to those places for totally different reasons. And yeah, man, when work looks like play to you, and for other people, it's really fucking challenging to do what you do, but you enjoy it, like, lights out, you're going to win, every time. And so what are the things in the business that give you joy, that excite you?
Oh man. So I'm a coach by trade, like, I spent 5 years as a fitness coach. One of the reasons I kind of burnt out was because I wanted to be doing deeper, like, life coaching stuff. So I love leading the people. And what happens is, where I'm guilty of kind of slipping into this trap is I get so caught up in systems and numbers and KPIs and stuff that I forget to be the human in the business. And I forget to, like, see my people and, like, check in on my people and have a coaching call or mentor my people. So that's one of the big things when I got back, is I pulled my 2 gals aside and I was like, hey, like, I want to give y'all more of the business. I want between the 2 of you, I want you to basically be able to do everything that I'm doing. And over the next few months, I want I want to mentor you and like help you tap into your full potential. So it's that, I love like building people up. And I just realized like, holy crap, if I were to pour most of my time into building up five direct reports in my company, and that was how the majority of my time was spent, and the rest was, maybe leading a company meeting and building culture and stuff like that, and the rest of it was making connections and going to events and creating JV partnerships and maybe some side projects. Like that's kind of the dream. Like it's not reviewing KPIs and micromanaging my acquisition managers and stuff.
Yeah, man. You and I are very similar in that sense. That's what gives me energy, and honestly, that's pretty much all I do nowadays. And I feel like I could do it forever, to be honest. And I never thought about this until literally when you were talking. If I looked at our team, I did the presentation at the mastermind last year, and to be honest, I think for a lot of people, probably went right over their head and didn't necessarily resonate, and that's okay. It's probably like the wrong audience for it, different stages, different seasons, But I look at our team and it's like, dude, I pour into the people I work with. Like, imagine a LIA coaching call every day. That's kind of what we're doing in there. Like, I give it my all. But I look at our team, it's like the average person, and we've got people that have lost 40 pounds. I never talk about fitness. I never press people to go to I don't do any of that. But just by virtue of creating a place where people become the best version of themselves, I've had people that have left unhappy marriages, that have moved across the world. Like, that's fucking cool, man. When like the work becomes this thing where you get feedback that, fuck, I can do anything, man. And when you're coached and led to rise to the occasion and be the best version of yourself, oh man, that gives me infinite motivation. The same way. And bro, I really think that most people don't think like that. I really don't think most people do. And I think that you will go so far with that mindset, because you ain't gonna go alone. You need people. And if you can bring people up, that's it, man. And that's where business becomes like almost spiritual. It becomes this deeply meaningful thing in your life, because you're doing real good with it. So
yeah, it's by far, like I do a lot of personal development work, a lot of spiritual work, and this is by far the deepest personal development work I've ever touched. Like it's this constant mirror in front of you of like all of the things that, all of the opportunities you have to change and all the ways that you could be showing up better and all of that. So, I mean, it's like if you want to grow personal development wise, start a business. Like it'll be the hardest thing you ever did, and you'll grow so much through it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly. When I started like getting obsessed with business when I was in my teens, my family gave me a lot of shit for it. They didn't understand it. Like, oh, you just want to make money? Like, that's so shallow. And I'm like, oh guys, the money has so little to do with it. It's an art form. It's this game of forever progression. And I to me, it was how I discovered myself, to be totally honest. Like, it's how I learned about who I was. And yeah, man, I resonate with that wholeheartedly. Let's get back into some of the stats within the business. I know people love hearing about deals, man. That's always the hot topic. I know you got a pretty funny one. Double close subdivide that was a probate. I mean, that just makes my head spin hearing about it. So let's talk about that.
Oh man. So this is a fantastic deal, 28 acres. And we got this thing, I think we bought it for 73 or 75K, and we floated it by our agent, and our agent is like, hey, you guys need to subdivide this thing. And we're like, well, hold up. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, no, it's easy. I got a surveyor. I'll connect him with you. And, you don't have to close on this thing. We'll do a double close. We do it all the time. And okay. Like he like invited us into this. Usually we're the ones trying to influence the agents. Like, no, it's cool. I promise. So he connected us with his surveyor, and what did we do? We paid for half the survey. He drew it up. It was a 28 acre lot, and our agent was like, "Nah, I'm just gonna list it for 10 acres. I know my buyers around here. Trust me." And we're like, you're listing 10? No, like this is terrible. Like we want it listed as 28 and maybe 14. And, like, he's like, just trust me, I'll list it for 10. And within days we had an offer on one side and so great. So then we got them to pay for the other half of the survey to subdivide it. It was wild. So while that's going on, we find out that it's going to be a probate deal, and not one, but two, which was fine. So that was our first probate mess, and you got recommended to one guy who's going to be a crap load of money, and found another gal who's incredible and just was super proactive. So she was great. And then while that was going on, we found a buyer for the other side, and now we have buyers on each side ready to go, and we got to get through this probate mess. And we're finding out, okay, there's 2 probates. We'll see. I'm hearing horror stories that this might take 6 months or longer. And now we double close everything. So we're running into the issue of, oh my man, we got less than a month to go before this thing expires. Like, what's going on? And Tracy, our probate attorney, was like, "Oh, just get a 30-day extension." And we're like, "What do you mean? No, this sounds like, no, we that's not going to work. We're going to need more time." And she's like, "Just trust me, do 30 days." So we had to fight with the sellers and sway them. And actually, it wasn't too bad with the sellers, because we built a pretty good relationship with them. But we got them to extend, and they said, we give you 30 days. That's it. And then the seller would call us, and she'd be like, "Hey, Maria, just checking to see what's going on, when this is going to be done. I'm getting offers for my property, and they're way higher than yours." And we're like, "Oh man, this is not good." And she's like, but as long as we get this done on the timeline that we talked about, we're good. Like, I'm committed to you guys. I like you guys. So she's like, "I'm not worrying about them. I'm just letting you know I'm getting better offers." Like, oh gosh, this is, this is fragile. We got to get this thing across the finish line. So we ultimately closed both of them last month. The first one was, about $75K, pretty much made our entire basis back. And then the second one was $96K for the other half of it. So we ended up coming out about $78K ahead after everything.
Wow.
With no money into the deal on it all happened on the fly. Yeah, it was beautiful.
So dude, that's kudos. It's an insane deal. And I think that's a deal that a lot of people couldn't pull off, not because it's so complex, but because the management of the seller requires a lot of trust, a lot of rapport, all that stuff. Did you guys do anything out of the box to get the seller to say, "I'm sticking with you guys," even though they have
nothing crazy and out of the box? I mean, we run our cookies for contracts SOP. So as soon as we get a deal, like the last step of our contract intake, we send them the cookies, and we assure them, like, hey, like when we say we're going to do something, we always follow through. Like, we're going to get this done. Like, we're we're just really excited that you trusted us. So and we signed Maria's name, my dispo girl's name, on that. So it launch pads into a really strong relationship with her. So I'm sure that maybe, help them feel good or whatever, but we didn't do anything crazy. It was just like, how people say, "We're going to reach out to you every week and give you updates," and then they don't actually do it. Well, when Maria came on board, that's the one, she's like, "I'm doing that every week." Yeah. So they hear from her every week. Good news, bad news, no news. They're hearing from her. So when we're calling to ask for an extension, it's not the first time they've heard from us. You know what I mean? That's where it was funky before, when I was doing it all myself, was I would tell these people, "You'll hear from me every 7 to 10 days. And then the only time they would hear from me is when there was a problem and I needed to ask for something. And it just felt so out of integrity.
Yeah, dude, I can't tell you how many people do double closes with no earnest money and no discussion in between. And it's like a recipe for disaster, I think. Yeah. If you're a one-man band, hey, maybe every week is not feasible. That's okay. Talk at least bi-weekly, once a month, something, you know what I mean? Show face.
Yeah.
Because double closes become so messy, and there's a lot of liability when it comes to, you got a buyer on the ends and you can't perform because the seller backs out or ghosts you or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's the worst situation to be in. And really all you got to do is touch base with them. Right. Dude, I know you launched another business somewhat recently. It's creme de la creme, but I've heard it. You've said cookies for contracts.
Yeah, Cookie Closers is the product. Cookie Closers is the brand of it. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
So let's talk about that. Look, we have 49 people on the call right now, which is awesome. I'm going to share this in the chat for everyone. Creme de la creme treats, but there's a kind of a product in there, but really for land investors, I think, or real estate investors. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that exactly?
So it's a deal conversion system. I mean, So if you're listening right now, just think about the last deal that you had that you thought was for sure going to be a deal, and you sent the contract and then it fell through at the finish line, right? Like maybe you got ghosted, maybe they went with someone else, or, maybe their wife, was hesitant and skeptical, whatever it was. But it's like, we all have those deals where it's like, that was my deal and something happened, something slipped away. It was inside the 5. So that is, I got sick of that happening as a systems guy. I got sick of losing deals at the finish line and not having anything I could do about it other than, hey, just checking in, just wanted to see, I realized I wasn't standing out. I realized these people didn't trust me, for whatever reason. They didn't have enough reason to trust me, and I was appearing just like everybody else, and I needed to find a way to stand out. So I started getting creative. Like, okay, if I can just zero in on that part of my system, the inside the 5-yard line deals that the price was right and something else happened. If I could just flip half of those into deals, even the people that already said yes, if I could flip half of those into actual signed contracts, it completely changes my business. So I set out to figure out how am I going to set myself apart. And I was already sending cookies to my deals after I would get them signed as contracts. And I was like, let me try sending these out in a way that can make us money, and started sending them to sellers who, needed a nudge, needed a solid impression. And that's when it started going bananas. It absolutely started going bananas. So what we did was we started running a process inside of our company, Cookie Closer Friday, where every Friday we would look at our pipeline, look at the leads that were inside the red zone, basically, and see who needs a cookie closer box this week. And we would run that every single week. And by doing that, we were focusing on leads inside the red zone. So if you dedicate 30 minutes every week to focus on leads inside the red zone, naturally what's going to happen is you're going to get more output from your leads inside the red zone. So that's ultimately what happened there. But the product that we ended up creating was a high-end, like luxury feeling box that presents like almost like a Hermes box or like a Coach purse, like that luxury unboxing experience. So when your seller opens it, they immediately put you in a different class. Like they're no longer you're no longer in the same group as the 15 other investors who have hit them with mail and texts and calls this week. They're instantly seeing you differently. Yeah. So what they do is they open the box. At the very top of the box, there's a handwritten card from you, which we will handwrite for you. And they read through that card. We actually put together a ChatGPT, the Closer's Edge card generator too, because not everybody has a way with words. And that thing is like absolutely lethal when it comes to converting people. The goal with it is to convert them to get them back on a call, not to get the deal out of it. So they do that. And then there's 5 massive cookies under there. They're organic, better for you ingredients. They're huge. They're intentionally designed for them to share, because what happens is they'll break it in half. They'll share it with their wife. Now their wife's asking who sent those cookies. And when they say, oh, it was Sumner. Well, I like Sumner. You need to call Sumner back. I like him better than all those other guys you've been talking to. So now she's bought in on this. And for the next 5 days, they get to have this shared experience. You just became a part of their life. And ultimately, I can't guarantee they're going to call you back because they don't know what the context was leading up to that. But every step of that experience is designed for them to never forget you. And that's what this is about, is making you unforgettable.
Dude, the concept around the large cookie is ingenious. That's a really cool angle, man. And are they delicious? Of course they have to be delicious, but are they insane?
Dude, well, that's the thing. So I had the business model. And for 3 months I was stuck in a holding pattern because I didn't have the cookie. I was like, man, this has to be the best cookie I've ever had. Like, I can't just settle on a cookie. Like, this needs to be like an epic cookie. So we finally cracked the code on the cookie, and that was the thing. It's got to be thick, like 6 C's thick, and it's got to be the best cookie I've ever had. It's got to be something unforgettable. And that's what it is. And that's the conversation that you hear from your sellers. It's like, that's the best freaking cookie I've ever had. I see what you did there. All right, I'm ready to talk. It's hilarious. The conversations, like it's a conversation piece.
Yeah. Wow, man. I know a lot of people probably are like, they know Crumble and stuff like that. You think kicks the pants off Crumble?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Wow.
It does.
Wow, dude.
And the thing is like, the thing with this is like, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, I can just send Crumble for that. It's like, but at the end of the day, like this is intentionally designed to make you unforgettable. It's intentionally designed to close deals. Like that's the product, is the cookie closer. Like that's what it does. So what we do is we have it set up like a credit-based system where you buy a 10-pack of credits and you sit on them, and we keep track of your credits for you. And you just let us know who you want to send it to, what you want your letter to say, and boom, we send them out for you.
Wow.
And what we found is that, I mean, you can absolutely expect to get at least one deal out of a 10-pack. 1 to 2 deals out of a 10-pack is like average numbers for us.
Dude, that's crazy.
There's a lot of variance in there, of course, because I don't know who you're sending them to, right? Are you sending them to leads that hung up on you and told you to fuck off? Like, are you sending them to, like your hottest leads who already trust you? Like, there's so much variance. So it's really hard to tell and control that. But when we first started running this in our company, I ballparked it as, let's say I send out 10 and I get 1 deal. Let's say it's a $50 box. I send out 10, I get a $25,000 deal. That's a 50 or 50x ROI. No, 5. I don't know what the ROI is. It's big. It's big. And then what I found was, we sent out 4. We sent out 4 and got 2 deals one week. The next week we sent out 3 and got 1 deal. So it's like, it's an art as to like who you're choosing and when you time it and what you say in the letter. So like, that's the art form. And as we grow, as Cookie Closers grows, what's going to come is a lot more of like, we're going to teach you how to use them. Not just like, oh, I got these cookie boxes and I can send them out to whoever. Like, we'll teach you the art of the letter. We'll teach you the art of the timing and all of that, because what we're finding is the people that like plug it into their business and actually like they run this system, like Ajay, like they've got a cookie closer channel in their Slack. Like there's like fully ingrained in their system. And I mean, they're just ripping. Like every closer on his team has ripped a deal from it. They're at 300K in profit in the last 6 weeks. So it's like I want to teach people how to actually use this as an art form, to get people back on the phone, to like get noticed again.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy, man. How many cookies are you guys sending on average per week?
We're probably sending probably about 40 boxes a week.
For you personally?
No, gosh, no, not me.
No, not for the business. So I didn't mean to have you reveal the KPIs.
In my business?
Yeah.
My business, it really fluctuates. We've had weeks where we've sent 10 to 12. Now we're probably sending 5 or 6. And most of them are on the acquisition side. Like we probably send 4 or 5 on the acquisition side each week. And it's the conversation is really, all right, who should have closed this week but didn't? And those are the people that, it's like, well, so-and-so agreed on our price, and then I just haven't heard back from him. Or so-and-so is waiting on his attorney to review the contract, but I think if we just landed him a cookie box, I think there's a chance he might bypass that. Like, and that's what we see is like when they're one impression away, when they need that nudge into the end zone or whatever, boom. Or if you've got someone that was marching down the field and then they just stop talking to you, boom, it gets their attention.
Wow, man. Bodie in the chat says it's the wrong link. I don't know, Bodie. The link works on my side. I'll retype it in as the type form link, and we'll see if that works. If you guys want to get plugged into it, or maybe Josh can put it in. Jerry says it's the best cookie he's ever eaten in his life, so that's pretty crazy. We got someone says, yo, these cookies are no joke. They are tasty. We got an order for people that we fund for double closes. We know we're winning hearts and minds with those cookies. So a lot of happy people in here. That's
if
awesome.
anybody's interested, just y'all can comment cookie closers in the chat or in the comments, and I can shoot you a message too.
Wow. Yeah, Mark just made his order today, man. That's awesome, dude. That's
so
cool.
Yeah, it's been really, really cool. And we've been, I mean, a handful of folks out of LIA and stuff like that have had, like, my buddy Cole locked up a $250,000 subdivide deal out of it. Like it's bananas. It's absolutely bananas. But it's like, I think the biggest thing is like how you view this as a tool. Some people are like, oh, that's an expensive gift. And it's like, well, I don't see it as a gift. Like, one, it's inexpensive deal insurance. When I'm doing $50,000 deals, it costs nothing to send a $50 box to ensure that gets across the finish line. Or two, you've got 6 deals that could go either way. Like, you drop that on their plate, maybe 3 or 4 of them now fall on the right side. But it's inexpensive deal insurance. And then there are a handful of people that are doing like big volume in terms of mail. And what I've learned from them is like, they see it as like a niche marketing expense. It's like rocket print. It's like buying the high class letters for a very niche data set. It's like even more niche than that. So it's like, for the right time with the right people, you can't miss it. Like, we've got a couple people, definitely people that and you're friends with, they're testing out campaigns with them.
I was going to ask, is
Yeah.
anyone sending them out cold currently?
No, I got two different people building lists for like, like a few hundred-person list for like subdivide campaigns. So that'll be a fun one to run. You know, when you're talking subdivide deals, you know, like you look at the cost of a lead, you know, and it's like, okay, if we start dropping those in there, I mean, I don't know, it's interesting, but the people that are doing volume, you know, they see it as, you know, like my cost per lead is already, you know, 260. If I were to make it 300 and, you know, now they're getting this box, how many more deals do I get out of that? If I get one more deal out of that, it pays for itself for a year. So
yeah, dude, that's the funny thing is like people are so like math seems to really confuse people, but it's like, don't think about the $50 box, guys. Think about your cost per contract, your cost per lead. And that's why I was curious about sending these out cold. Dude, I might make an argument, and maybe I would love to hear from you once these people test if you can get their data.
Yeah,
I would make an argument that for getting subdivided deals that are over $300,000 as a list price as is, I might make an argument that your cost per lead is lower with this than a blind offer. Crazy, I know, but I might make that argument because the cost per lead through direct mail to get like a true bona fide high quality subdivided lead that you add to your CRM is expensive. This might beat that. So I'd be very curious to see those stats when they come through.
Yeah.
Dude, I know all the rage right now is obviously messy deals, messy this, messy that. Are you playing around with any of that, or are you just keeping it bread and butter?
I think at the volume that we get into, here's the thing: we find our way into messy deals. We're not going after them specifically.
Okay.
You know, I've got a good friend who's, you know, basically shut his land business down, for lack of better words, so he can go into, you know, just messy deals, and he's crushing it. And I don't know. I got the curiosity, but I don't see that being the business model anytime soon. Like what we're doing is working well, and I want to own this. But we've got our share of them. Like what's cool is to have the wherewithal that when we come across them, we don't have to just pass them up now. Like before, I was like, oh, probate, we'll toss that lead. You know, now like one of my favorite deals was a probate deal. The property's worth probably 80 grand. And, you know, I told my closer, we just lock it up and we figure it out later kind of thing. And we ended up locking it up for 8K, and we just accepted an offer for 65K on this thing. Like we bought it. We actually were able to get through it with an attorney. In fact, we bought the property for 8K, and after a month on the market, we're selling it for 65K. So that's a fun one.
That's sick.
Yeah, and we got it. There's another funky one. It's messy, but it's not like a messy title one. 100 acres. And we bought this thing for 100K, and we can sell it for 400K.
Oh my God.
But there are squatters on the property who are claiming that the previous owner gave them part of the land. So they're claiming the land is theirs. They built structures. So what I thought was going to be, we'll just take title and get them off the property. It's like, this is a beast.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going through the eviction thing, and you know, these guys are going to put up a fight, and we're getting an appraisal on their structures so we could pay them what the appraiser says they're worth. And yeah, it's a mess, but it's the fattest deal we've ever seen. It's that buy for 100, sell for 400. So
that's crazy. Juice is worth the squeeze, in my opinion. You know, I'm of the same thinking though. Since I've been in land, there's been these very interesting patterns, and I don't know why the general consensus is when there's a new thing in the zeitgeist, it's tear down what I've been doing, and then everyone that goes through like this reinvention cycle. So when I first got in about 2 years in, that was with texting. Everyone was like, mail's dead, we have to do texting. Okay, interesting. Then it was really hot to try. Everyone's doing subdivides. Flipping's dead, it's subdivides. Then it was RVMs. Now it's messy title. You know, it's like, and I mean, to each their own. There's nothing wrong with doing a 180 and reinventing yourself. But my mindset has always been like, let me collect those little nuggets of wisdom. I'll take some of it and add it in, but I ain't turning off what's working.
Dude,
dude, I'm sure you hear this, bro. You go to so many you go to these events nowadays, or you just talk to land investors in different corners of the land space, and there's a lot of people that have the belief that flipping doesn't work, flipping's dead, direct mail is dead. Like, dude, nothing could be farther from the truth from my eyes. It works very well, you know. So yeah.
I don't know, man. When I came in, I'll tell you something I experienced. This was very real when I came in. I was amped about it. I saw the proof of concept. I joined the program, And then within month, like I saw how many people were coming into the community, and I was like, oh man, did I pick the wrong industry? This is overrated. I started to doubt myself. And then what happened was I started seeing the letters people were sending. I started hearing how people's processes looked. I started hearing how people sounded on the phone. Started talking to sellers, and I'm like, why'd you call me? And they're like, I called 5 other guys and I haven't heard back from them. Like, I'm like, oh wow, it doesn't take much to stand out if you just like take your shit seriously and like really treat every lead like they're a $50,000 opportunity and have a buttoned up process. So I immediately like was able to nip that thought in the bud by just like thinking, okay, like saturation is good if I can just be different, better,
Well, dude, it's very, very funny. It shows you, I mean, humans are obviously so radically different, but there are little mindset loops that we all fall into that seem to be like across the board for every human. And it's interesting having like the zoomed out perspective, looking at, there's been like 400 people that have gone through our programs. And so like seeing the commonalities is very fascinating. One of the most common patterns is 6 to 12 months in, people start getting this little competition voice on their shoulder that starts scaring the shit out of them, and I went through that. And yeah, dude, nothing could be farther from the truth. One, there's such a variance in skill and quality. I honestly lovingly say this, it's just not that hard to be better than everyone else in this business. To be honest, the bar is set relatively low. But dude, the other thing is that like, I think that people get into land for all sorts of reasons. And there is a pretty big attrition, like whatever, they find another business, they get a job, life changes, they give up on the business, whatever it may be. And so there's been like a cleansing, I think, in the land business in the last 2 years. I think there's less people in it than there were 2 years ago. That's my honest opinion. Because I'm getting way less marketing from people and our yield continues to improve. There's blips, there's weird seasons, but I don't think it's related to competition. Like a lot of people in the last 6 months, mail has softened. I think that's more political, like, large scale macroeconomic than it is, oh my God, there's so many new competitors in the space. And one of the interesting things that I always cite as an example is that like, we have all of our KPIs for LIA and content, and I look at the other competitors in the space. No one has ever gotten a hockey stick growth, like viewership, engagement, book calls. It's all very steady month after month. So yeah, competition it's a fugazi, man. It really doesn't matter. Who's listening to this, don't even fret. Like there's in industry, there's always room for quality, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah. It was. I saw it as more of an invitation to step my game up. Like okay, just like to set yourself apart. Like the cookie box. It's like you find nuances like that where you can appear different. Like if you do the same thing everybody else is doing, you're gonna get the same results. You're gonna get looked at in the same bucket and all of that. But if you can do these things to set yourself apart, like so a mail lead calls Answer Force, and Answer Force says, we'll get back to you within the next day. And we call them within 5 minutes. Boom. Bonus point. Nobody else is doing that, right? Nobody else is under promise, over deliver. And then, like we do a series of that throughout our entire process where it's like, holy crap, y'all have continued to show me that you are who you say you are. Nobody else does that. Now, when it's time to, drop the offer, turn over our purchase agreement, where we're getting a marketing clause, 120 business days, like we're getting these things. It's never an issue because we've built so much trust and like there's this congruence with you say you're these kind of people, and I've experienced that you're these kind of people.
Yep. No, it's facts. And so many of the decisions that sellers make on who they're going to work with, I think, is can they just fulfill on the promise that they've given me? Like, are they gonna get this across the finish line? And I think oftentimes sellers make decisions solely on that, not who's offering the most, blah, 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 blah. Can they fulfill the promise? There's a lot of questions in the chat, or a good amount of questions in the chat that I want to hit on. If you guys haven't already, give this video a thumbs up. It's been a treat having Josh here. Looks like there's a ton of folks loving it as well. I'm going to answer a couple of questions real quick. Leah, I shared the link for RSVPing to the free mastermind in Scottsdale. It's June 5th and 6th. Unfortunately for the Bali mastermind, we didn't get enough RSVPs. I said 25 was the number. We had a lot of people reaching out saying one of two things. One, if this was next year, I would totally do it. Or I just don't feel like I'm at the level that I'm going to be the right fit to be in that room, which I totally understand. So we probably got about half the people with soft commitments, either directly to me or on the RSVP form, which just isn't enough to justify doing that event this year. That's just the honest truth. Now we will be back to the regular scheduled programming with our big event next year. Our event planner, Amanda, who's a godsend, is pregnant. So she's going to be giving birth right when we would do the event in October. I'm going to, Joe says a Fugazi. Yes, it is a Fugazi. Juan says, Josh, if you had to start over again with everything you know at the land business, what would you do differently? And why he answers that, I'm going to be right back. Give it a go, Josh.
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Oh man. A big one with me is I would have. So my big thing, the reason I double close everything was because I want cheap capital. Like I want to get in and out of my deal with as much or with as much profit back to me as possible. So when it came time to close on a few properties that were like home run deals, I took friends and family money. I took hard money from friends and family, and I just wrote it up as a promissory note loan. And I was like, oh, this deal's a smoking deal. It's going to close quickly. We should double our money, no problem. And the few times I did that, it didn't always go as planned. You can't control the market. The property sits for a lot longer. Someone gets murdered across the street, and now that part of town gets bad publicity. So there's these things that affect my ability to fulfill my promise. So that put me in quite a crunch earlier this year, and at the end of last year was having to pay back loans on deals that haven't quite sold yet. So I had to dip out of company profits to do that, and it just put me in a gnarly cash crunch a year into my business that I would never want to experience again. So early on, I would say take the JV deal. Like don't be afraid to partner. Let someone else take on that risk, and you don't have to worry about not paying your team or whatever it is, because you've got to pay back this loan and stay true with your word to, a dear friend, a family member, whatever it is. So Sumner, I don't know if you heard that, but I took some hard money, friends and family, on deals that I thought were smokers, and they didn't sell as quickly as I thought it would. In the 6 months I told them they'd have their money back, I had to dip into company profits to pay it back, which, in the middle of a cash crunch, dipping into company profits to pay back friends, to keep your word. Friends, they never knew I experienced it like that. But the stress that I took on, because I wanted to swallow my pride and not take on a JV partner and give away 30, 40, 50% of my deal, that's what I would not shy away from deferring risk to the JV partner.
Dude, facts. Yeah, there's two things I recommend. Maybe three. Avoid debt in the beginning for sure. Yeah. Avoid working with friends and family for funding in the beginning for sure. And then the third thing is, just using the JV funders. You pay more, but you get the confidence that they have as an extra pair of eyes. They know this business. If they take a lick on it, it's a cost of doing business for them. And the money's always there. Like, you don't have to coach them on how to, here's how you wire the money in. No, they've got it set, and you just kind of walk into their system. It sucks to give up the money, but it's worth it. And I think for me too, one of the things that, if you just look at the math, if a seller is a fit for a double close, but you want the assurance of cash closing it, I'm of the mindset of let's pay them a little bit more, double close it, net. We have less risk, and I'll probably make more money than paying up that 30% to the funder. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not all sellers are a fit for double closing, but when it makes sense. So I wholeheartedly agree.
Funny enough, that was another one of those things where I hear you loud and clear, and also I think I have a better way. And I tried it, and I come walking back with my tail between my legs. It was a perfect example of that. He told me. And they all said to do it, and I thought I could do it better.
Yeah, that's how it goes. What did you say?
The stress burden of I'm talking, this is like $200,000, right? So it's I got to pull $200,000 out of the company when we're growing and scaling, and it's that stress. I never want to experience that again. Because it's and I look back, and because I'm not able to take anything more than what I was paying my rent. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm not making any money. But if I didn't have those debts, that's a couple $100,000 that would have, it'd be sitting in my accounts. So that's what it is. It's a whole perspective shift of like, hey, it's so much.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. It's funny. The most stressed I've ever been in this business was actually a little over a year ago. Outside of that, I sleep like a baby, but same thing. Two really good friends funded a deal that we shouldn't have been funding, but my team really wanted to do it. They'd worked on it for a long time. Ended up being a nightmare, dude. Luckily, we got everyone's money back plus a little bit, but I'm like, I ain't ever doing that again. You know, what's funny too, this is what I learned from that experience is I was so jaded by that that I've actually self-funded all my deals since. It left such a scar on me that I've just been pouring so much money into deals. And I look at if you have the liquidity, then it's like, yeah, it's fine to use your own money. I think in the beginning, don't do it. But something I never want to experience that again. It was horrible, bro. And I knew like nothing was going to go wrong, but it was the fact that I made X promise on what we were going to sell it for and when it was going to happen, and we blew past both. I just hated that feeling. Maines wants to know, what is your ROAS on mail, roughly?
It's like I would say like a 4 or 5. I think was when I last looked, like 4.5.
Really?
It's not crazy high. And here's the thing is, again, like I double close everything, and my dispo always lags, right? So I look at, I've got 40 properties on inventory right now. It's like gross pipeline profit is like 1.4 mil.
Wow.
With 260 on the book set to close in the next 30 days. So it's so in 30 days, that completely transforms that number. So it's like, I always feel like my numbers lag a little bit in that ROAS, but
they do. This is the rule. This is the only way to measure ROAS, I think, is it has to be in a 12-month window. So the better measure would be to go look at 12 months ago. Don't factor in the
2024.
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise it's like there's such a lag. And it's usually about a year lag to like have a fully weighted result. I bet you're a lot higher than that on a 12-month period.
Yeah. Well, like looking at all of lifetime, it's like a 4.9. We've had, like there's quarters where it's 7, 2025, we're at 2025, we're at 7.3, so it's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I got to ask, I know you're a Land Insights power user, and I always know who's balling based off of, I can see everyone's stats, I can see data exported, scrubs, all that stuff. What tools are you using in the business? That's a question for me.
Oh man. Every piece of the business uses Land Insights. I've got the two people on my marketing team, they use it all day long. I've got my comper is using it. We're not using the comping tool yet, but she's using it. We just recently got our data to where it imports into our CRM with the comping link and the property link for Land Insights, so it can be more deeply ingrained into our processes now. So yeah, we use Land Insights for everything, literally everything. Other than that, my closers are still using Land ID just because I haven't pushed them into Land Insights to do the same thing. But other than that, I use AnswerForce for my call service. I use OpenPhone. Well, I've always used OpenPhone. Now my closers are using LeadBoss. LeadBoss is my CRM. It's okay. I'm not crazy about it. I haven't found one that I'm crazy about. And switch to Follow-Up Boss sounds like a beast that I'm not ready to take on right now. Yeah, those are the main ones. And then Dispo, where Google Sheets. We manage 40 properties in inventory with Google Sheets right now, and that's a project that I want to figure out how to, what to do with that, manage your inventory better with task management stuff. But that's kind of the gist of it. I don't know if there are any other ones I might have missed.
That's pretty much all you need, man. I run every single business with Google Sheets. It's probably the most important tool that I have in my whole entire business, man. Dude. Google Sheets, or just Google Workspace in general, is everything.
Yeah.
If you guys want to take a test drive with Land Insights, there's a link below, and you'll get 1,000 free leads for giving a test drive. Ewan says, Josh, what is your contract time to close?
So it's 120 business days. And the whole idea is, we under promise and over deliver there. So our average is, here's another thing, like in first year of the business, our average was so good. We were at like 67 days to close on average. And now we're looking at like 105, 110. So yeah, we don't generally have to cancel due to contracts expiring. Like we're pretty good about aggressively dropping prices and working with our agents and stuff like that. But that's actually something I brought up to my dispo girl, Maria, today, is like, hey, I'd really like to get that number down under 100, just to protect the business. It's the contract to close percentage, I think, could always be improved, whether it's, title issues or expirations or whatever it is.
Yeah. That's pretty good though. I'm probably about a similar territory. This is an older one that was put in there by Winner One. I don't know if Winner One is still on the call. Winner One says, I sent 5,000 mailers using the LIA course, but no deals. Please help. I don't think you're in the group coaching program. So I don't know if you joined the LIA course a long time ago. You can't get access to just the course. That's probably been for about a year. I'll give you some feedback, and Josh, if you have anything that you want to weigh in after. Sure. Look, it comes down to a few factors. The first one is really simple. When I look at anyone that struggled like across the board, and I go look at their engagement on that education, they typically haven't watched more than 15% of the program, typically haven't logged in for at least 30 days. So that's a big one. Like, have you consumed the education? Yeah. Pretty hard to be successful if you haven't. Obvious, but not so obvious, because I'm not kidding. I've never seen it that counter that. Of course, we all have bad campaigns, for the given, but I mean, on the whole. The next thing is when campaigns aren't performing for new land investors, it really just comes down to two areas. So the first area is obvious, which is going to be your market selection. And that really cascades down into your ability to create accurate offers. The thing that I would look at there is like, what's your response rate? What are the kind of responses you're getting? How many leads are added into the CRM? You just go test the accuracy of your pricing, right? Go through and mock it out and see how accurate are my offers. I saw someone yesterday, they're not inside LIA, but inside Discord, they said, hey, I'm marketing to an entire county. There's a lot of commercial properties in here. Prices are all over the place. So I'm just going to take the average of all the prices for 5 to 1,000 acres, I think they said. So, okay, you're going to do that, and you're going to lose all your money in the process. I mean that kindly, but for real. And that's kind of a market selection problem initially, right? Pricing should be pretty simple if you select your markets and fraction correctly. The second thing, which is probably the biggest offense that almost everyone is making on some scale, and that's what I would call like lead management or acquisition process. Dude, I see some people that only add hot leads from campaigns to their CRM. If someone called them they're lukewarm, they don't even add them to their CRM. So they have no visibility on them. So then it's like, okay, go through all the simple stuff. What was your connect rate? What was our follow-up cadence to get them on the phone? Did we execute on the 14-day seller follow-up cadence? Once we got them on the phone, how long did it take to make an offer? Was it over 48 hours or 2 business days? When we made the offer to them, how long did it take to send the contract? When we send the contract, sign, what do we do? Like go through at every one of those junctions, there's somewhere that it's breaking down. Yeah. The difference between someone like Josh and the person that's experiencing this, Josh is either knows something that you don't know, but that information is out there, or he's doing something that you're not doing and maybe you know it, but you're just not doing it. It's that simple. And that's the beautiful thing about this business. It is already known. It is already proven. And so when things are underperforming, it's the person in the mirror, and it's just that, full stop. It ain't anyone else. And that's beautiful, because like if you start a cookie, creme de la creme, probably you don't know if that idea is going to work. Who knows if there's a business to be had for giving cookies to real estate investors? It turns out there is, but there's a lot of ambiguity there. So if it's not working, you don't know, is it me or is it the opportunity? Here it's you. You know what I mean? So anyways, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah. So the first thing I thought when I heard that is 5,000 letters and no deals, I thought, okay, well, there's so many unknowns here, right? Like how many responses did you get from that? And anytime I've gotten on a call with someone and broken down an issue exactly like that, I'm like, okay, well, how many responses are you getting? Like, what's your response rate on 5,000 letters? And a lot of times what I hear is, I don't know. I haven't tracked that. Okay. So there's the first thing. So tracking your data is super important. Like, set up a spreadsheet with how many letters you sent each week, how many responses you got each week, how many calls you got, like all the way through, like track the important metrics. And now when you bring the question of, I sent 5,000 letters, but didn't get a response, it's like, okay, cool. Let's look at your sheet and figure out where the bottleneck is. Where's the constraint? But I would say, you're probably getting calls, I would have to imagine. And when you get calls, what's happening? Yep. Right? Are they going to your voicemail? Are you calling them back? Are they going to an answering service where they say you'll call back and then you never do? That was something for me early on. Like I had fear of calling my leads. Mm-hmm. And I would wait 2-3 days. It was almost like it was like this weird, like fear of success, fear of rejection. I don't know what it was, but I wouldn't make offers if they told me they wanted a certain price and I was way off. Like I just slip that into the back of my CRM and say, maybe I'd send them a little text message and say, hey, it looks like we're far off. We can't do but this price or whatever. Like, so I would really look at like what's actually happening in there. Are you getting calls? If you are you making offers? If you are, what's happening on there? And I think when you start to look at it a little bit closer, you're going to see that the problem lies in one of those numbers.
Yep.
And then that's what you fix. And then
Yep.
you just keep playing that game of fix the biggest constraint, fix the number that's causing the biggest problems at any time, which for me right now is show rate.
Yep. That's it, man. Yeah, there's just little points in the business that things can break down, get clogged up, and shift your results, and then you just got to go and solve that. It's really just math at the end of the day. Like it's just a business of math.
Yeah.
But I think that's really good feedback. And then look at this. Caleb, who's a LIA member, he's 90 days in and 62% of the way through. That's crazy progress. I mean, LIA's hundreds of hours of content. So Caleb, shout out to you, man. And that's always the canary in the coal mine for someone that's going to be successful inside of LIA. We watch their engagement in the program. We look at how many calls they show up to and the quantity of questions they ask. That's it. Like that's the canary in the coal mine. I'm like, okay, they're going to do well.
Yeah.
Coach Dave has a funny question for Kay Walker. He says, are you half Asian? That's a very funny question, Coach. Maybe Josh can help answer that for you.
For who?
For Kay Walker, he's asking about Kay. Very funny. Leah says, how many texts can a full-time VA handle per month? I've got my answer. What about you, Josh? How many do you think?
I don't know. So I work with a text team. I work with a team right now, and I think they can get up to 100,000 texts for one texter. I'm not quite sure. We use 50,000 for one texter.
Yeah, dude, you took the words out of my mouth. The max best case is 100,000 per texter from what I've seen. They've got to be dialed, and your system's got to be dialed. So I would say for the average texter, 75,000 is middle of the road, 50,000 if they're okay. I'm sure your texter could handle more. I'm not saying that they're okay, but just from what I've seen, that's pretty common.
Yeah, for sure.
Jerry says I'm half Asian. I knew it, Jerry. Yeah. Leah says, any tips on dispo? This is where she's struggling.
Oh, dispo. Yeah. Wow, I've got a few things to say about dispo because here's the thing. So all last year, I focused so heavily on acquisitions that, I mean, we were adding 10 to 12 contracts a month to our inventory every month, and things just weren't selling. I was like, my business is going to pop off soon. Like, I just know it. And I needed to really start focusing on dispo. So one, when it was just me, I was giving it zero attention. I would delegate my properties to agents, and then I'd quite literally forget about them. Like, again, I'd say I'd talk to them. I'd say I'll give them a call, but I don't. And what happened was I let them have too much control, where listing photos sucked, descriptions sucked. They weren't doing, like they weren't really, there was really no accountability in terms of how they were managing my product, my inventory. When I started treating this like I'm stocking my shelves and I want my inventory to look a certain way. And I know that's not normal for you, Mr. Agent, but our inventory always needs to look a certain way. That's how our business works. When we started to almost have that kind of conversation, everything changed. Now what we do, and I'm not recommending this for everybody, but now what we do, the first thing we do when we get a contract signed is we order our own drone photos. So that's one thing that we can always control, is the photos look the same. We edit those photos so the lot lines always look the same. So when someone's scrolling Zillow, we can always trust that our listing photos and our listing looks the way we want it to. And now it's just a matter of making sure the agent is following up with leads and stuff like that. But we have conversations with every realtor every week, and they probably think it's redundant, but they also move our properties.
Yep.
The big thing with that is, like, you got to remember that most of your agents you're working with, they're not working with businesses as much as they're working with one-off people that are probably selling one house or one piece of land in their life. So they're like, this is my business. Like, I've got 9 people I need to feed, and it depends on if these properties sell or not. So the conversation I need to have with those agents is different than most of their clients. And for so many of these people, it's just, we just need to teach them how to work with us. and they're down for it because they want to make money. They want to keep getting served up with good deals. But you just have to teach them how to work with you, how to communicate with you, how to handle buyer conversations or offers and counter offers and all that stuff. So that changed things for us.
Dude, I don't even have anything to add myself. That's pretty much it. I mean, we do a couple things different that I'll share, but the first thing is, it's a different relationship because you're actually leading the realtor. Usually the realtor is leading the person that's selling the property. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we do is we almost kind of try to deliberately scare them off a little bit when we interview them. Like, this is what you're walking into. These are the expectations. And some people are like, I'm not doing that. I don't want to check in bi-weekly with you guys. I'm not interested. Great, cool. Move on to the next. Obviously, we use the Land Insights Realtor database. That's huge for us. That trims so much time off trying to find good realtors, and we can just see their volume immediately. We actually require that the realtor to take the drone photos for us. It's kind of like a signal that they're a land realtor. I think to a drone, but we do all of the editing. And anytime someone's having a dispo problem, without fail, inside of LIA, their photos stink. Either they have drone photos, but they're horrible, or there are no drone photos. So beautiful, best in class photos. I always say you've got 5 photos to tell the full story about the property. So when you upload your thing to Zillow and it's 5 pictures from 1,000 feet up looking at a grove of trees and they're all the same, what story are you telling there? You know what I mean? It's like this, like the buyers, I don't know what I'm looking at. We write the listing copy, and then we have a check-in report that we send to them bi-weekly. You do it weekly. And that like overnight changed our dispo. Like overnight, just by holding them accountable, collecting their KPIs, consulting on what we think they should do next. Game changer. And that's pretty much it, man. Find good properties, good markets. It obviously makes things a lot easier. Turns out Kay, her mom is from Hong Kong and Pops is from Mississippi. So there you go, coach. People wanted to know. That's a cool combo too. Hong Kong meets Mississippi. I would be curious to know how your mom and dad met because it's 2 worlds colliding. All right, man. I think we can wrap up here. It's been a freaking treat. We're an hour and a half in, 42 people still on the call. You guys have stuck around on the real ones. I know it's late back in America. Josh, anything you want to leave the people with?
Oh, man. Set the big freaking goals. Like, set the goal that's going to scare the shit out of you and fight every day for it. Like I did, roughly 400K in 2024 first year. And I set a goal. I remember telling you, Sumner, on that New Year's Eve call that we had or whatever it was. And I was like, I'm going to do 2.5 million next year. And that's just $200,000 a month, every month for all 12 months. And, like that's like 9 parts delusional, like it's incredibly delusional. But by setting a goal so freaking big that it just terrified me, like I'd never seen a $200,000 a month, never seen a $100,000 a month, had never broke 60,000. What it required me to do was think of how I'm going to play a different game, not play the $60,000, $70,000 game. I had to think way bigger. And that thought process now has me, I've been engineering for $200,000 months for about 8 months now. And, we're on the cusp of that in this month. So, it'll be really cool. So set scary goals. You got it.
Yeah, for real, man. It really just whatever you believe, like reflect that back to you, whatever you believe. And you're allowed to be delusional. I love delusional people, man. That's the kind of people I like to hang out with. I like people that they're a rocker. Doesn't have to be related to business, just for anything. Like just to have stupid ideas and actually pursue them. I think that's amazing. I write down almost every day in my journal that Land Insights is going to be worth $100 million. I've never done anything like that, but I believe that I can do it. I really do. Yeah. And I just keep on reinforcing that belief day in and day out, day in and day out. And I'm sure you do similar things. I imagine you've got great habits around that stuff. So anyways, they will have one more question. We got to answer Bodie. Bodie's the man. Bodie says, Josh, not sure if this was shared, but what does your day-to-day look like, routines and all, and then more?
Oh man, that's a good one. So I wake up at about 5:45. I head straight to the gym. I'm to the gym by like 6:15, 6:30. I train. I'm back home by 8, and I typically shower, meditate, or breath work. Go for a walk with my fiance. I'm eating breakfast and at my computer by 9:30 for a sales meeting. We have a sales meeting every day from 9:30 to 10. And then I've got 2 90-minute deep work blocks. And then from 2 to 3, I typically have calls, like meetings, team meetings, stuff like that. And then after 3, my day is kind of a wild card. I can wrap up if I want. A lot of times I'm getting lost in ChatGPT, building things, tinkering the things. But yeah, it's I try to stack my. If you're looking for like game, like I'll tell you this: like no meetings in the morning. I protect my energy. I deep work in the morning. I stack all of my meetings at the back end of my day because I can show up for a meeting no problem. But if I do my meetings first, I end up in a very reactive state. And then I don't get shit or deep work done at all. So that's like, if you're looking for like a nugget of game for the, how I set up my calendar, it's that. Like I don't meet with my team in the morning unless it's like my sales team.
Dude, when I was living in America, that was similar routine. I didn't go to the gym first thing in the morning, but I would deliberately punt calls until usually about 12 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one downside to living in Bali. And honestly, there's a huge learning curve because I've got 4 hours plus of calls right when I wake up. Essentially, I get up at 5:30, but I have calls either starting at 6 or 7 a.m. And I have to have all my calls crammed in one window. And it's taken a lot of discipline to be able to then have deep work, not immediately after, but later on. And I figured it out. And I think it's a trade that's worth making to live here. But yeah, dude, if you have the opportunity, do not take meetings in the morning. My goodness. Avoid it. All right, y'all. Bodie, good question. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Give it a thumbs up. Creme de la creme. I love the name. The chat is in the link, or the chat is in the link. The link is in the chat. And if you want to find Josh in Discord, Josh Pierce, you can't miss him. You can send him a DM.
For sure. I'm an open book. If anybody has anything like I always enjoy when people reach out with questions and stuff like that. It's like after I share wins and stuff, like I'm an open book, take up your space. I think it's cool. When I joined, I remember I felt like I felt so annoying to like reaching out to Ben and Ari and these guys like, hey, I got another question. And I kept asking the questions, but I made a promise to myself that once I got to a place where I could give back, that I would do that. And it feels good. It feels really good. I guess the biggest thing is like, it's an energy drain when I'm giving back to people and they're not actually taking action on it. They're just like gathering ideas, and I'm talking to them 3 months later and I'm like, you did that thing, right? And they're like, no, I still haven't. Come on, dude. But if you're like seriously going to take action, like, dude, let's talk. Like, I'm so happy to jam.
Dude, that's it, man. And that's the beautiful thing that happens in LIA. People feel like a little sense of duty to pay it forward. And I love that.
Yeah.
So so reach out to Josh, but don't you dare not take action on what he shares, because it's proven to work, guys.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Take care, guys.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Take care, Sumner.
See you, man. Thank you, Josh.